Experience Karen Hunter in a completely different way. Karen Hunter is awesome. The podcast.
If you like me on SiriusXM Urban View Channel 126, you're going to love me in Karen Hunter is Awesome. Hey, this is Karen Hunter, host of The Karen Hunter Show on SiriusXM's Urban View. Karen Hunter is Awesome is an actual podcast to bring heat and energy and knowledge and power. A 1-2 punch that I don't think you get anyplace else. Tell the truth. Check out the podcast wherever you get your podcast. You will not be disappointed. We are so addled, and I'm a little bit frustrated. So on Friday, those of you who know, we do something called Foolishness Friday. Roderick Morrow, the black guy who tips, came in. And on some stories I say for him, because he has quite a unique perspective. I like how he thinks. We don't think the same. We arrive maybe at the same place, but we come at it differently. I love his mind. So we were talking about Boyz II Men because there was this picture going all around, and we filter through, all of us, millions of data points, probably an hour, if we're being honest. We probably don't even think about it, but we're scrolling and things, and then the picture pops up and you go, what? Why are you taking a picture with this MAGA Muppet? Don't you know better? Like, who's doing? So I posed the question on social media. Then I read the story, but I posed the question before I read the story. So I'm just as guilty. I said, what the F? WTF? Question mark. Like, what is happening? And then I went to read the story and I said, oh, okay. I still got a problem with this photo op, but I understand it was more than just them taking a picture and going there and being chummy with somebody who is our open enemy at this point. But they went to Congress to petition for artists to get their rightful pay over the radio airwaves. It was a valid reason to be before Congress. And I'm sure MAGA Mike said, let's take a picture. And because these men were raised by human beings, they said, okay, now maybe they also don't have enough geopolitical knowledge. Maybe they're not steeped in what the hell is going on right now. Maybe this was a dumb move. But I saw people saying to cancel them. Now, I wasn't going there. It's weird because I then posted the same clip from our Friday show where Roderick Morrow and I had the discussion, and Roderick said he did a whole podcast that he had to delete because, again, we react before we actually talk, before we actually open our mouths to have an opinion. We react because this is where we are. This is the norm. And he said he had to delete it because, we're climbing on them for being human, for being decent human beings. He was like, they're not the problem. The problem is this culture, this country, MAGA. That's the problem. The inhumanity. That's the problem. The whack, wild way in which we are now forced to be governed or ungoverned. That's the problem. They're not the problem. But yes, being in solidarity, taking pictures, smiling with these folk is problematic. But is it worthy? And then I started thinking about, cancel. So we're going to cancel, throw them in the trash. They put out some good music. And I'm not saying that the good music, no, doesn't cover Nelly. That's something different. That was an active choice that he tried to defend. Now, if he did like Chrisette Michele, I was like, listen, I'm broke. Listen, they asked me, I needed a gig. Y'all ain't buying my records. I would respect that. Him, Snoop, all of these people, that's something different than taking a photo op when you're in Congress to petition Congress, which are the lawmakers, to make laws that protect your folk. That's what we're supposed to do. We send representatives to represent the people. And then you call on the representatives to do their damn job. That's what we're supposed to do. We can't jump on them for that. But the comment section made me want to talk to y'all today. So I'm curious, 866-801-8255. What's the solution? Somebody wrote, the boys are from Philly. Shame on them for even talking to Johnson. Someone else wrote, this is on the YouTube comments. The group credited in the industry as having the worst deal in history has some nerve. This is mighty white of them. But they are all broke if you've been following. Like, what does that got to do? when I tell you more than half the people who came onto my YouTube page did not even watch the video. And I want to say it's close to 70%, just based on those kind of comments. Because how could you watch Rod and I apologize for jumping to conclusions, both of us, having the fortitude to say it publicly, and then tell the truth about the story? Still, I land on they probably shouldn't have taken the picture or done it in not such a cheery, putting your hands around somebody's, there's ways to do that and send a message. No, you're raised right. So if somebody says, let's take a picture, you're not probably going to say no. Or maybe you do stand on business. I would like to see that, but that's not the requirement because we are raised right. We're the humans. But the comments told me most of these folk didn't even watch the exchange. They looked at the picture, which was MAGA Mike and the Boys to Men, the thumbnail. They read the headline, "What is happening here?" ? What? All caps. Boys to Men pose with MAGA speaker Mike Johnson. That was the headline. And then they commented. And I often say, people will give you their opinion. And I always know in the comments who actually listens to the radio show based on how they comment. It's like you could not possibly have listened to the radio show if you're commenting on a picture in a headline or you're commenting on a clip. And I often say, do you also pick up a book, open it up in the middle, read 2 pages and then do a book report? Do you do that? People do that. That's the equivalent. And it's way more prevalent than it's not. So my question is, what do we do about this? Because it's spilling over not just in our media consumption, but in every facet of our lives, to the point where I feel like we are developmentally delayed as a nation. But the problem with being developmentally delayed is that this nation is also one of the most powerful nations. So you get to spread that, this knuckle dragging, this unformed, undeveloped way of living onto the rest of the world, including those of us who live here. I promise you, every day I feel like I'm fighting in quicksand. I feel like I'm literally fighting in quicksand for information. Today I was prepping for the show. I'm talking to one of my producers, and she says to me, I'm struggling to find verification on some of these stories because it feels like, and this is how long I've been in this business. So there was a fledgling, well, I think it's still around, an outlet called Media Takeout. Y'all remember Media Takeout back in the day? At the time that Media Takeout came out, I'm giving y'all some insight now, stuff I know. So I'm reporting right now, being a journalist right now, because this is stuff I know. I was doing these projects with a woman named Wendy Williams, who's in the news right now. Wendy Williams and I did 5 books, including, what do we have, 3 New York Times bestsellers together. The first one, Wendy's Got the Heat. I knew because I was in partnership with them, she and Kevin, that they had a stake in Media Takeout. So if anybody read Media Takeout in its early days, there would be maybe once a week a very glowing story about Wendy Williams. This is before I'm still a journalist. I'm still a journalist, on my way to winning Pulitzers and stuff. I am not thinking that a Media Takeout would become the norm. But then came TMZ, and then TMZ was basically doing these stories on folk that, celebrities, mugshots, and then it evolved into something even bigger. But you had Perez Hilton doing some stuff. I never imagined that would be our norm, that would not be the exception, but the rule. But the funny thing, I would be laughing with the same producer, because they were also working with me back then. You see this story on Wendy? It's like, and every story would be, oh, Wendy looks great in this outfit, and we'd be laughing about it because clearly it was a planted story. And there would never be any negative stories about Wendy, even though at that time she had stuff that you should be talking about. Or maybe if you cared about gossip, she would have been in the damn Media Takeout, but she owned the Media Takeout, a part of it, right? So my producer said to me today, I feel like media, I feel like this is the days of media takeout where like the CBS News, where I'm usually getting my reports, are in league with this administration. I can't find the truth. Where do I go? And so I'm asking this question too, because y'all aren't going to dig as deeply as we are going to dig to find the information. So if you're scrolling and this is how you get your information, and then you're sharing it, and then you're sharing it, and you're repeating it, and then it's going out widely, we have now a problem. Who do you trust? How do you suss through the noise? And selfishly, I would love for you to come to Urban View, because we're at least going to try to get it right here. You know, you have world-class journalists, formerly. I'm former. Clay's still out there in them streets doing journalism. Laree is a lawyer, Center for Law and Social Justice. In the mornings, you got scholars. And we're going to try to get it right. But I'm even struggling, because how do you get it right when everything's fighting against it? And then how do you move about the cabin when half your information is filtered through a lens of lies, of misinformation, willful, on purpose? And there's no check, no balance. There's no apparatus in place to say, hey, this is not legal. This is not proper, because it's all legal. And now we have a court system that's just like, okay, all right. If it goes to the Supreme Court, it's over. It's done. This Supreme Court's going to rule however this oligarchic wind is blowing. So I found a clip, 60 Minutes. There's been a lot of commentary about Nazi Germany and how this is how it started. You know, it took Hitler 100 days to dismantle everything. We're in day 26, something. And it's just like, I'm laughing, but I'm not, because that's how it happens. It happens really 1 degree at a time, and one concession at a time, and that's not a problem at a time. And we're now in a time. Smith, can you play the clip from the 60 Minutes piece where they talk with the German folk about the prosecutors from I think the Nuremberg, like these people who like studied Nazi Germany and how and today what they allow and what they don't allow. So these are German prosecutors. Now in Germany, it's against the law to do what I'm saying. You can't even share bad information. You can be liable for that as well. Let's hear it.
It's illegal to display Nazi symbolism, a swastika, or deny the Holocaust. That's clear. Is it a crime to insult somebody in public?
Yes, it is.
And it's a crime to insult them online as well?
Yes.
The fine could be even higher if you insult someone in the internet.
Why?
Because in internet, it stays there. If we are talking here face to face, you insult me, I insult you, okay, finish. But if you're in the internet, if I insult you or a politician...
That sticks around forever.
Yeah.
The prosecutors explain German law also prohibits the spread of malicious gossip, violent threats, and fake quotes.
If somebody posts something that's not true, and then somebody else reposts it or likes it, are they committing a crime?
Yeah, in the case of reposting, it is a crime as well, because the reader can't distinguish whether you just invented this or just reposted it. That's the same for us.
The punishment for breaking hate speech laws can include jail time for repeat offenders. But in most cases, a judge levies a stiff fine and sometimes keeps their devices.
How do people react when you take their phones from them?
They are shocked. It's a kind of punishment if you lose your smartphone. It's even worse than the fine you have to pay.
Because your whole life is typically on your phone now.
I wish we could do that here. How different would it be if you posted something that was wrong and didn't take it down, and then you got fined, and then somebody reposted it and they got fined, and then people kept doing it, and then their devices got taken from them? We have a president that does this. There should be some consequence to putting out bad information, but instead we have like Facebook peddling in it, and then selling our information to Cambridge Analytica, that then takes our information and then pushes bad information to us on purpose. And then the next oligarch buys Twitter, does the same thing. And then maybe he toys with the Starlink and does something with the machines. And here we are. And there's nobody to say stop. Because as a nation, we haven't agreed that this is important. Germany understands what happens when you allow this stuff to go unchecked. Propaganda was literally the precursor to the gas chambers. Literally, there's a through line. That's how important it is to have facts. And here we are. We don't have them. Nowhere. Not even a media. A media is supposed to be the one thing to hold the door. And they have all sold their asses out. And it looks like Elon wants to buy MSNBC and fire Joy-Ann Reid and do like it. That we've weaponized all of this. And we're not in the streets over this. We were in the streets for George Floyd. I think this is even worse. And I can't express it to you any more succinctly. This is worse. This is worse because this is generational. And this could lead to what happened in Germany. And that did happen. See, because people are saying it didn't happen. And then they're spreading it out, and then people believe it didn't happen. And as the caller that called up, what's his name? Whatever the guy's name that called up last week and tried to tell me I didn't know what I was talking about. But then when he was challenged, he didn't know what he was talking about. But then we both believe what we're talking about. So who do you believe? Well, I'm going to believe me because I actually do hours of work to come into this space to have the right. But there are people on airwaves that do no work. That do just what that guy did and call up and watch a couple of YouTube videos, and they are experts now. We shouldn't be equal. But yet we are. We all have the equal right to say whatever. So who do we believe? Who do we trust?
Introducing a new podcast. Karen Hunter is awesome.
If you like me on SiriusXM Urban View Channel 126, you're going to love me. And Karen Hunter is awesome. Hey, this is Karen Hunter, host of The Karen Hunter Show on SiriusXM's Urban View. Karen Hunter is Awesome is an actual podcast to bring heat and energy and knowledge and power. A 1-2 punch that I don't think you get anyplace else. Tell the truth. So check out the podcast wherever you get your podcast. You will not be disappointed.
Karen Hunter is Awesome, a new podcast from Karen Hunter.